moving on to sort of your mental state, do you remember sort of things that you felt were really important, maybe beyond those basic necessities of health, that really helped you get in the right mindset and stay in the right mindset?
Yeah, I wasn't probably the best at it, honestly. Like I was pretty like I came from like the professional athlete world, so like pretty hard charging and did take a lot of downtime. I'd say like the thing that actually caused me the most like um, stress and kind of like mental issues, honestly, was like I had a co-founder that just wasn't the right fit for me. Like when we started the business, I started with a friend in college, and we didn't really expect it to work. Like I knew I was going to go and try my best, but like I had never started a business before. And it was really just something to do well in school to keep myself busy. Cause like I wasn't satisfied with like normal life after being an athlete for so long. I was just like, school's boring. I want to like try something really big. And so I was like, oh, this would be more fun with a friend. And so like, I'd say like my story is not as important as kind of the message, which is like in those early days, surrounding yourself with people that you can really like get into the trenches with. And luckily at that time I had my girlfriend, now wife. And so she was super helpful and like kind of like being able just to chat through things or whatever. Cause like, what Nicole mentioned early on here is that like it's a very lonely journey as a founder. Like, yeah, there's other people building businesses, but in the early days of your business, it's like you're trying to create something new that hasn't previously existed. And so your problems, although have like there's some similar things and probably what I'm talking about right now, Nicole's had the same feelings. However, it's like, the buck stops with you, and like you have to ultimately figure out all these different things that are quite unique to your business and that are really unique problems to you. So you can get lonely. So I'd say like I didn't have the right co-founder and partner in the business, so that caused a lot of trouble. I just felt overworked, and there was just a lot of tension. Like I mentioned, like I had to sell everything to stay alive. I could only take so much money out of the business. Well, like I had a co-founder that was living at home and didn't have any expenses, making the same amount of money. And so like, then also wasn't doing the work. And so that caused a lot of resentment on my part, because I was like, I'm already doing everything. I could make double the money because like this, I have someone else who's not struggling as hard as I am. He was 5 years younger than me and I wasn't from Victoria. So I was paying rent and groceries, and it's just kind of like, in that same period where I'm like literally in debt year over year, he bought a truck. It's like, this sucks. This really sucks. And so like, those were the other parts of like, where I was just like, what's the point? And that ultimately ended up in me being like, I'm walking away or buying my co-founder out, because it's like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So that was like, and this is not an uncommon thing in business, unfortunately. It's like people start businesses because a lot of people ask themselves like, what happens if it goes wrong? And they optimize for minimizing risk, but don't ask themselves what happens if this goes right. And I think that's something really important, because that's almost the worst situation to be in, that if something's working and you didn't think through how to capitalize on it, you'd actually have a lot more regret than if like, I think there's two sides of regret. Maybe there's the regret of not ever trying, and then maybe trying but not having a plan if it works. It's like, there's like no real in between there. So unfortunately, I didn't really ask myself thoroughly or think through like, what happens if this works, even though I truly thought it could. And so, yeah, that was probably what caused a lot of issue. The actual work itself and like the struggle and stuff. Like I came from a 10-year background of dealing with a lot of adversity, and professional sports not easy, and there's a lot of ups and downs. And so like I built kind of a lot of kind of mental strength in that area. But what was new for me was kind of like dealing with a partner that wasn't pulling their weight and all of that set of things. So the long-winded answer there is making sure you have the right people in your corner with the same values and motivations, and that it's vetted. It's truly like a marriage for co-founder relationships. And if you have the wrong dynamic there, it's one of the key reasons that startups fail.
I've also noticed myself, like beyond my co-founders, but even just forming relationships with other, in my case, particularly female founders who are kind of at a similar stage as me, has kind of also helped this whole like not feeling so alone and not being like, what the heck is that? Like, what is this journey? It's wild, right? So I think that's actually been really helpful for me, is just like expanding that network of people who are on the ground figuring out this stuff as much as I am, right? Not to mention, like there's obviously like the support component of that, but also just learning from each other, right? Like they might make a mistake that could save me that mistake just by being surrounded by people like that. So I like that you said that, because that's like a recent realization for me, I would say in the last month or two, of how incredibly important that is. Because I think before that, like a lot of my friends and even my family, like they don't get it, right? They don't get why. Like why they're like, why are you doing this? Why don't you just, you had a great job, like just keep working the job. And so I found that also quite isolating. So it's been good just finding people who get it, and are kind of down there with you.
Totally. And I think that community is out there. If you're an early stage, you might not be able to bring on that employee, the in-house sort of community that you might have. So yeah, great to find some other people.
I just wanted to ask Rob a question. You said about like balance, and as founders, you're like one of the most important assets to the business, invest in self-care and all of that kind of stuff. So I would say, like, generally speaking, as a human, I get my 8 hours of sleep, I eat well, I exercise. But I do find myself thinking about my business all the time. And I feel to the point where I'm like, I need some more hobbies or something. Like I need something to get my mind off of it a little bit, because it's almost like I'm so passionate about what we're building that I'm thinking about it every waking hour of the day. And I almost wish that I had a bit of an outlet, or something to kind of just like distract my mind. And I don't know if Rob, you went through that, or if you have any learnings on your side of how you do think about things other than building your business, to get some mental rest and some better balance on that front.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of the curse of entrepreneurship. Like there's not much of a way to get out of that. I think that I don't like believe in balance for entrepreneurs so much as I do like synergies. So like finding things that like allow you to still kind of work on your business, but like maybe it's context shifting. So like I'll go for a run or a bike ride and my mind will drift and I'll still think about business, but it's a little more of like the creative side of it, the things that give me energy. Yeah. I think it's just a question of asking yourself, like what parts of your business and thinking about the business give you energy and what parts take away the energy. And then optimizing for in the downtime, at least only focusing on the things that seem to kind of fill your cup and give you energy. And just turn off the negative thoughts. It's like if you don't want it, if you love what you're doing, like I would say, like there's probably zero downside to thinking about it. Then just like in the times where you're not working or at the desk or like plugged in, if you see your mind drifting to the things that are like anxiety inducing or whatever, be like, well, this is not the time. Like I just try to like bucket it and put it like actually think of like putting it in like a little bucket and be like, this is going to the back of the head till we get to work tomorrow, because like this is not an issue I need to deal with right now. And literally I can't deal with it right now. It's kind of that concept of like worrying about things in the future that haven't happened yet. It's just like, what's the point? You're suffering in advance for no real reason. So I'm not perfect at it. I'm always thinking about it too. I'd say like maybe the only thing in the last 6 years that has ever turned it off is I had a son. And sometimes I'll be watching him play and that's all I'm actually thinking about. That's like the only thing though. And even then, sometimes I'm not fully present, which I don't like. But that's probably the only thing. But other than that, maybe because like that's the only thing, short of a few other things that I love more than the business. But like, other than that, like as entrepreneurs, I think that's kind of like the curse. Like there's no getting away from it. I would say try to avoid the negative side of it though. If you don't have to deal with it right then, just be like, this is not important to think about.
Got it. Okay, so go have a kid. Noted.
That brings its own challenges. It's like startup number 2. They're absolutely crazy. Yeah, it's been nuts, but it's fun at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's like obviously something that founders more than most people are going to experience, is that how do you separate your work life from your personal life? Like Rob said, you are the business. You're not compartmentalizing. That's sort of not your approach. Find techniques to sort of shut the business off, and now you're a personal guy, Rob. That's not something you do.
I don't know, like it's not my personality. I've always identified like with what I'm doing. Like when I was an athlete, I was an athlete. Like, and now I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm an entrepreneur. But I'm not saying that's everyone's strategy. I would say though that if someone's getting into business and wants balance, I would say don't get into business. Don't be an entrepreneur. It's just not like you wouldn't become a professional athlete saying like, you know, when I get home from practice that day, I don't want to worry about stretching and doing the ice bath and doing the massage, all the things that suck. They suck. But you have to be doing it 24/7 because like there's no alternative. And this like entrepreneurship, if you actually want your business to make it and be the top 1% of the 1%, you're an Olympian. And do you think Olympians like forget Michael Phelps? I think he didn't miss a workout for like 10 years, right? Like 10 years.
Yeah.
And so like if people want to get in entrepreneurship and have like balance, like power to you. Don't expect that you're going to build like the business of like that breaks through. Then like you can build a nice lifestyle business that way. And I'm all for people that want to do that, but they have to be real with themselves that they can't have their cake and eat it too. Because like I think the number one thing entrepreneurs need to do is live in reality. And the reality is this is hard and it takes all your time, and there is the dark periods, and we can talk about them and have strategies to like mitigate them and not burn out, because there's definitely a time and place for like that. However, it's not balance. It's just like strategies, just like athletes need to recover. Recovery is part of the sport, and they're doing it very thoughtfully. It's not just like recovering for them. It's not just sitting and eating a bag of chips on the couch or whatever. It's like it's actually still work, but it's rejuvenative. It's rejuvenate. I don't know, whatever word I'm trying to say. But you know what I'm saying? So like,
yeah.
That's how I look at it. That's why I say synergy is like, if you're going to be in this game and you're going to be in entrepreneurship, it just bleeds into your whole life, and you just make it a part of who you are, and you build strategies, and you find time to be present with your partner or with your child or whatever, but it's never off. Like it's going to be there, especially in the early stages, like until like you've got a team large enough where you can fully delegate everything out, and you can maybe step back a little bit. But that's usually 5 to 10 years out from when you start.
Yeah, and that's so important for people to hear, and I think understand the sacrifice that is going to be involved. When I was in college, I lived with an Ironman athlete, and I'd been an athlete in high school and stuff. And obviously, that it takes hard work, right? But then living with someone who's at that top level and seeing the level of sacrifice that goes into maintaining your spot there is just more than you could imagine. I think
it's delusional. Yeah, it's like, and people will never know. People will never understand unless they've done it. And that's the thing, is like, people want to be pro athletes, they want to be entrepreneurs, but like they don't want to get up and do the work, like a lot of them don't. And that's the beautiful thing about these things, is they're permissionless, and you have the ability and the opportunity to go try and do these things. It's so hard. Mm-hmm. It's just incredibly hard. And a lot of people aren't willing to go through the suck for so many years. And the other dark side of it is like the majority of the time it doesn't work out. So it's the combination of like extremely hard work and uncertainty, which is like a dark place. But when it does work, it's great.